get to your phone calls coming up. Settle on a poll question. You've heard of pitchers working on 3 days rest. John Smoltz working on 3 hours of rest. He was on the call last night with Joe Davis and the World Series game. And tomorrow night, 8 Eastern on Fox as the series shifts back to Toronto. John, thanks for joining us. Game 5, the 5th time in the last 11 postseason games the Dodgers managed just 2 runs or less. And you're going against a Blue Jay team that was known for its hitting, not its pitching. What is the big problem with the Dodgers' bats?
Yeah, you can't get in a funk 7 out of the 9 guys collectively and keep asking your starting pitching to cover your lack of offense. That's what they did this whole postseason. They dominated. You know, subconsciously, when you're on a team with 4 great starters, it's not literally this way, but you feel really good when you get to the park that 3 runs is going to win. This offense last year for the Dodgers was much better. Obviously, they had to win a different way. They won with bullpens. And look, I mean, it's not an excuse, but the statistics and things that have been thrown out there, which is mind-boggling, that a team that sweeps their series facing a team that played a 7-game series has never won the World Series. Well, it still blows my mind. I know it's just a stat, but then you start reading into maybe the layoffs do harm to hitters, you know, and then your timing is all thrown out of whack. And it's hard. I've said this about a starting pitcher that pitches twice in a series. Much easier for him to make the adjustment in a series than a hitter who's struggling. The next day he's got to make the adjustment. Then he's struggling, and the next day he's got to do it again. So it's definitely the worst time of the year for that to happen. But the Dodgers are going to have to figure out a way on the next two games to not solely rely on their starting pitching for the only way for them to win.
What made Trey Yesavage unhittable?
He got back to the mechanics in the feel of that split. I felt like he would make the necessary adjustments. I watched too much tape, even though he hasn't thrown a ton of games, that I'd never seen 2 games in a row where he didn't have a split. He did not have it in the first game against the Dodgers. He abandoned it, went to 32 sliders, I think, which, you know, it's a good pitch. It's not his great pitch. The great pitch is his split. But I thought he was so mechanically sound, and his fastball command was much better. I thought the last game he was short with it, cutting it off, maybe trying to generate velocity. And look, it's a unique release point. And when he's able to throw enough strikes, they don't really have a chance on seeing too much evidence of somebody who throws like this that they can throw as a comp.
What I liked last night is you talked about gut. Everything's about analytics, but you leave Yesavage in, and you talked about this is a gut feeling by John Schneider.
Yep, and he learned the hard way. He even talked to it openly about, you know, I've learned I had to sleep all off season on making a decision, taking out my starter Barrios against Minnesota, and there were other situations that didn't work out well. And, you know, I've always felt like if you don't give a player a moment in the postseason, you'll never know. Because in a 162, they live and die by the numbers, and that's fine. But I think you've got to, when a guy's having a moment, you don't let the other team breathe and take him out and feel better about, you know, any decision that you make, especially this time of the year, that makes the other team go, thank you, is not a great decision.
Blake Snell gave up the home runs in 2 of the first 3 pitches, but he did settle down, which is remarkable when I can't imagine that feeling, John, when you give up a home run to somebody to lead off and you know, a playoff game, now a World Series game.
It's a shock. I really thought that he was going to establish his fastball because he didn't have a great fastball last time. And I'll tell you what, when they take that away from you immediately, you got to go into a mode where you're like, oh, man, that game plan, like a scripted game plan is great, but then they took it away from him. So I did think he settled down and made necessary adjustments. And the one thing about Blake Snell is normally that outing would be good enough to win a game, but the offense was not good enough to win the game, and it showed.
Is there any chance, let's just throw out hypotheticals, the Dodgers win, could Vlad Guerrero Jr. somehow be the MVP in a losing effort?
I tell you what, Vlad Guerrero Jr. has single-handedly showed the world what it's like to be a complete player and how the World Series has absolutely been his time here to show that for everybody. And I think for the Toronto Blue Jays, for this country, for everything that he signed on for, I said and asked the question, did Vlad need the World Series more than anybody else? And I think the answer is yes, because of everything that this year, this contract, he's been emotional about it. I think it's been an awesome display of what a great player he is, because obviously focusing on Ohtani is the easiest thing to do because he's the greatest player of our universe.
I talked to Kevin Millar this week, and I said that Yamamoto reminds me of Pedro Martinez. Do you see similarities?
I do, in the sense of the nastiness and his ability to pitch in the strike zone and then to get guys to chase. The one thing that Yamamoto, which now I'm like blown away when he went to the bullpen and what was going to be inning 19, that's all I needed to see. He instantly became, for me, one of the guys I'll never forget that moment. If it were to go to the 19th, after pitching a 9-inning complete game in today's game, and then say, I want to go pitch in the bullpen, that was awesome.
Would you rather pitch to Ohtani or Vlad Guerrero?
It's going to sound crazy, but Ohtani. Mainly because of the left-handed at bat versus the right-handed at bat. I would normally say right-handers 100%. But Vlad Guerrero Jr. is a crossbreed between Miguel Cabrera and the ability to hit for power and average, and his ability to not come off certain pitches and swing wild. I mean, Pujols did the same thing, too. I didn't like facing either of those two right-handers. But the one thing you got to know facing Ohtani is you're going to be embarrassed. 100% you're going to be embarrassed. But you have a chance to strike him out. And this year he had more strikeouts than ever, understandably so, just doing the role and doing what he did. So either way, it's not a great result. But I feel like the ability to pitch away and splits give you more chance of strikeouts with Ohtani than you do with a Guerrero. And depending on your circumstances, you may need that strikeout more than you need the ability to pitch around somebody, because you may not be able to do that given the circumstances.
What do you expect to happen Friday night?
First and foremost, it's the loudest place. It's the most insane atmosphere. I expect that to be off the charts.
In all of baseball, that's the loudest?
Oh, by far. Right now, by far. Not even close. I mean, they're the hungriest, right? They haven't been in a while.
Yeah.
And it's a whole country. It's not a city. It's a whole country rooting for the team. I wouldn't be surprised if they had 25,000 sitting there waiting for it to see if they'll work out. It's like on today. I mean, they got a watch party. It's pretty cool. I mean, all the hats came back out. You know, it usually happens that way. Like in 1991, all the Braves hats came out. It's been 32 years. I expect the Dodgers to be relentless in their quest, because much like the Jays and their relentlessness, the Dodgers have a quiet, calm confidence. I say this before, ever since they were down 2-1 last year to the San Diego Padres. Something clicked, something changed internally for the Dodgers from a players-only standpoint. And the noises are going to bother them, but the narratives that are following this club won't bother them. Now, it doesn't guarantee they're going to win, but that's a great recipe for a chance to defend, which we haven't seen in a long time.
Quietest ballpark you ever pitched in?
Montreal. That's when they used to have not the technology that we have today, but Montreal. Actually, the quietest ballpark I ever pitched in was when I got my first year in Atlanta, because we didn't have any. When you can hear the lights buzzing and the vendors yelling, you're in trouble, man. That is not. I'll never forget the first time I went to a comedy club in Atlanta, and every single punchline was about the Atlanta Braves. Like, this would be a good year to paint the seats. Like there's it's just amazing how it turned and how the chop and everything. So cities that haven't won in a while, you're going to have this incredible roar and excitement.
Safe travels, John. Thanks for getting up with us, and we'll be watching on Friday night.
My pleasure. Thanks.
That's John Smoltz on the call with Joe Davis for World Series Game 5 last night. And then on Friday night at 8 Eastern on Fox, the series shifts to Toronto.